When I came into the picture in the 60s, part of what I took notice to, that is part of our new hatchery today, our new Bell & Evans organic hatchery, is that back then they knew when they would start to hatch, and they would take those first ones out and they'd put them in what they called batteries back then. They were kind of racks with layers on, and each layer had feeders and waters on. And then they would open the drawer up occasionally and take them out, shut it back, close the door back up again. So in the whole hatch window of 2 or 3 days, there was only short amounts of time there wasn't feed and water there for them. And eventually when they hatched out, they would prepare them in boxes. And in many cases back then, they put them in the U.S. mail. And they would send them off to farmers all over the country. But then over the years, what happened is the industry, as the industry grew, they figured out, hey, and the cost of labor went up. They didn't, and they no longer dealt with the batteries. They no longer dealt with taking them out as they hatched. And they knew about what the hatch window was from the time that they would start hatching till they were all hatched out. So they just kept the doors shut, kept it dark. And then when they chirped out of the shell, they'd basically be kind of living with the dead, living with broken shells, and they would survive till they were all hatched out. And then they'd be processed, vaccinated, and then onto the farm. And at the farm, they would get feed and water. So the industry today still has them in the dark. So they don't want to pull them out early, and they want to be able to have them last 2 or 3 days before they're processed and go to the farm. And so I don't like that. And back then, the old gang didn't like it either. That's why they pulled them out and put them in these batteries. That's the picture I got back in the 60s. And here we are later on in life, and I remember that. And this Dutch family now developed this hatchery where when they chirp out, they drop through a little hole and in a tray right below them, and there's feed and water waiting, and it's all brightly lit up with LED lights. And so our chicks are really nice and hardy, and we don't necessarily, and we don't put them in boxes and put them in the U.S. mail. Now we put them in our trailer trucks with heating and air conditioning, and the feed stays with them to the farm. Our chicks never get stressed in our process. Today in the industry, they're well stressed, and it's why they use antibiotics in the first 10 days of feeding, for sure. They put it in the water to deal with the stress they get in that starting process. That's why we have probably the world's top hatchery today, and here in America, the only one like it for sure, and that represents our organic hatchery today. But that all comes from the past.